Hi, I'm Ami Devereaux and welcome to my video blog. Last video, we talked about the importance of constraint in fostering innovation. Well, this time we're going to stick with the theme of less is more, that the counterintuitive notion that actually fewer choices or fewer bits of information is better for our process is true. But this time we're going to talk about decision making or making good choices. So, one of our intuitions is that the more information we have, the very better our choices will be. And in fact, everything about our current reality is skewed toward giving us more and more and more and more information, more news, more feeds on our websites and on our phones, and so forth. But it turns out that in order to make the best possible decisions, more information is not always better. So, why is that? Well, if you can imagine yourself being in a restaurant and trying to listen to the person next to you, only the background noise is so overwhelming, then you have experienced what's called the signal noise problem. It's very, very difficult to separate the signal, which is the thing you're trying to focus on, it's where the important information resides, from the noise, which is nothing but basically clutter, or in the case of the restaurant, just background din. So, you may have had this experience in your decision making process about something simple like buying a television. You decide you're going to buy a television, you kind of know what you want, and you go online and you start shopping. And you're immediately completely overwhelmed by the number of options. There are so many manufacturers and so many different sizes and so many different technical specs. It almost seems like you have to go back to school and become an engineer to decide what television to buy. So, what you should do, and what you probably do in some cases, is you begin to limit the field. How you're doing that is what you're doing is you're reducing background noise. So you take measurements of the room that you're trying to put the television in, and you decide what the largest television you could possibly go for is, and then you reduce your search by size. And maybe you read consumer reports and you know that you like Sony's and Samsung's better than LG's and Hitachis. So you limit by manufacturer. And the more limitations you make by shortening down the list, the better a choice and the easier a choice you're going to make. Now, sometimes easy is better, sometimes it isn't. But in the case of making decisions and making choices, particularly important strategic choices, it turns out that less really is more. So if you're trying to make a decision for the strategy of your company, or you're trying to make a decision about what new vertical to go in, or which features would be best to add to your program or your product, then you don't want all available information. All available information will net you in the same place that most people on dating apps end up. So we're near Valentine's Day, so of course everybody is talking about dating. And most people who are on dating apps spend an awful lot of time browsing infinitely and never making a choice. And when they do make a choice, although they might get a match, they end up with too many matches and then they can't decide who to actually date. This is a really strange problem, right? Sort of embarrassment of riches. But even while it happens in dating apps and it happens in television shopping, it happens to us in making decisions about our business as well. So the things that you really want to attend to are you want to attend to making that field of possibilities smaller. So just like you would limit the menu when you're searching for a television or searching for a date, you would limit it by height or location or interests or smokers or religion, you want to do the same thing when you're making decisions about your business. You want to determine what are the aspects of this choice that are germane. So if you have market research, maybe you want to include that in your choice of what the next feature is. But you also want to have a decision that's in light of how hard will it be to get something ready to ship? Because if the features that you're comparing are, let's say, one is going to require a 6 month window to develop the roadmap to get there, and the other one is going to be able to be testable within 1 month, that should make the decision, not the feature that might have the highest upside. Why? Because if you can ship faster, you can test faster, and you can get it to market faster. That doesn't mean you never go back to that other choice, but you want to choose the qualifications for that choice that are germane in this moment. The same thing when you're looking for a date. If you want to go on a date Friday night, you want to limit the field to people who are in town, who can drive close to you, who are not in 3,000 miles away, because that's going to require a lot more planning and you're not going to be able to go on a date Friday night. So you want to limit the options. Essentially, what you're doing is you are reducing the background noise. You reduce the background noise by limiting the options already on the menu. You reduce the background noise by only looking at the information that you have determined in advance is relevant to the decision you're trying to make. That way, you make better decisions. And just in case you think this is just about efficacy and making your decisions easier, it isn't. There's real data on this. There are some very important hedge fund managers who make their prognostications about the marketplace and about how they actually place their money by looking at a very small number of data points, as few as three. And they always look at those same data points and they make their decisions based on that alone without doing extensive research into all of the possible data there is about the economy and about the investment landscape. The same has been shown true in the consumer marketplace. When researchers from Oxford went into a grocery store with a number of possible selections of jam for customers to sample, the customers were always willing to sample. They would sample whether there were 5 jam selections or whether there were 25. But in the case of actually buying, they significantly were more likely to purchase when there were only 5 choices rather than when there were 25. Because with 25, they couldn't make a choice and they were overwhelmed by all of those options. So when you're looking to make decisions in your own life or in your business, in your strategy, or in your product roadmap, limit the field. Choose the specific relevant classes of information that are germane to what you are trying to decide, and as limited as much as you can, and then make the decision. Don't make the mistake of thinking that more information is always better. I'm Ami Devereaux. Make sure you subscribe, amidevereaux.com/blog, and I'll see you next week.